Trader Academy, and I would just want to take a few minutes today to talk to you about from retail to institutional type trading, mastering supply and demand, trading the institutional footprint. Now, a lot of us retail traders, we fall into this trap. So pay particular attention to this lesson because this is the first of a series of lessons on supply and demand trading. Welcome. If you've spent any time in the markets, you've likely realized the frustrating truth. Most indicators are lagging, and your perfect support and resistance levels are violated more often than they hold. To trade with consistency, stay with me here, we have to stop looking at the surface and start looking at the engine of price movement, which is institutional supply and demand. Now today, I'm going to strip away all the fluff and jargon. I'm just going to give you nuts and bolts on how to trade supply and demand from institutional companies, okay? Now, I'm going to give you a mechanical step-by-step system to identify where the world's largest banks are leaving their footprints. We aren't just going to draw boxes, okay, that you see on the chart like behind me. We're reading a language of what the institutions are really trying to do here, institutional intent. Now, I'm going to give you some foundations here in a little bit in this lesson of what supply and demand is and what it is not. It is very crucial to understand that, okay? So I'm going to be reiterating a lot of points, and I don't do that just to hear myself talk. I do that because there is really something there. It's a nugget, okay? What are supply and demand zones? Let's take a minute here and let's just dive into this, okay? When we're doing technical analysis or looking at the charts, there are areas of significant imbalance where you see these big candles that have occurred, okay? So here's what a demand zone is. It's a price area where buyers took complete control. Demand zone is a price area where buyers have taken complete control, causing price to shoot up, okay, or rocket upward. And a supply zone is just the opposite, okay? A price area where sellers come in, they overwhelm the market, and they cause price to drop or sell off rapidly, okay? Now, let me give you a simple example of this. Imagine the Euro USD, okay? Some of you are Forex traders, some of you are futures. You can pretend it's the NQ, but I'm going to use the price level of the Euro USD. Let's say it's trading at 1.08, okay? Suddenly, a massive bank comes in with a big order. The price doesn't just drift, it teleports, or you know, 2 or 3 candles, it hits 1.09, okay? These candles are massive. The origin at 1.08, where it all started, is now your demand zone. Okay, so supply is just the opposite of that. If price was 1.09 and shot downward, then and it went down to 1.08, well, now 1.09 is now your supply zone. Okay, so I talked about that for a second, showed you a couple visuals here. What I do want to do, though, is talk about what a zone is not. This is very key. These are a lot of common misconceptions. This is where traders fail, most retail traders. A zone is not just a high or a low on your chart where we put support and resistance lines. If price stair steps away from it slowly, that is not a zone. It's simply price hesitating. We at NMKL Trader Academy are only going to care about massive imbalance, okay? And on the screen behind me, you see a stair step away example. Notice how the candles are small and overlapping. This is retail activity. In the next slide here, you're going to see a look at this explosive move, large, full-bodied candles with no wicks. This is institutional footprint. All right, sometimes I'll have wicks on them, but for the most part, it's a big move away from an area. Now, let's talk about what most people fail at. What is supply and demand versus support and resistance? Most of us retail traders have learned from the support and resistance mindset. All right, on this table behind me in the video, you're going to see a support and resistance on one side, and you're going to see supply and demand on the other. Now, support and demand relies on multiple touches. It looks for price, it memorizes price, and it comes back to that area sometimes. Okay? But it doesn't always come back as support or resistance. Sometimes on one side, it can be below resistance. It could be on one side and be resistance, and then go to the other side, on the other side of it, and now be support. Okay? Now let's talk about demand, supply and demand. They like freshness, okay? No touches, all right? So support and resistance usually also cuts through bars, okay, your candles. Supply and demand doesn't. Now what supply and demand is a zone or a range, as we've seen on a few of the charts already, representing unfilled orders from these institutions. Support and resistance becomes stronger the more it is touched. All right, but supply and demand, the more times it's touched, gets weaker. All right. You're going to hear the gurus out there. I even got guilty of it once or twice, saying they're the same thing. You know, order blocks, support and resistance. If you draw a zone around, it looks like the same thing. It looks, but it isn't. They aren't. While order blocks or value areas might overlap a little bit if you're using order blocks or volume, they might overlap. But our criteria for demand zone, supply and demand zones is stricter. It's a violent departure. If the move away isn't violent, the zone is not valid. Okay, we don't even look at it. So now let's talk about the anatomy of a zone. There are two things that we look at. There's equilibrium versus imbalance, okay? And on the diagram behind me, you see where we have equilibrium and imbalance. Every valid zone is going to have a two-phase cycle, all right? The first is what we call the equilibrium or the basing. Keep that in mind. You're going to hear me refer to basing back and forth a lot. Okay, this is a narrow range. Okay, it's a tight range where buyers and sellers are temporarily in harmony. Now, if buyers and sellers are in harmony, they're not making money, so you know that ain't going to last long. This is where the big players are quietly accumulating positions without tipping the scales yet. That's the first phase. Now we go into the second phase, the imbalance, the breakout. Basically, the first phase of equilibrium shatters. Buyers exhaust sellers or vice versa, and price must seek higher or lower levels to find out where they can find more liquidity. This leaves behind unfilled orders. So if it's a demand zone, it's going to shoot up. If it's a supply zone, it's going to shoot down. Let's get a real quick example here. Think of a coiled spring. The basing is the compression of the spring. The breakout is the release. That's the violent move away. We don't trade the release. We trade the return of the spring. Now let me talk about why. Why does price return? Let me grab a drink of water here. Think about it like this. Why would a bank let price come back to their entry? Why would they want to come back to where they bought from? It's not a mistake. It's a mechanical necessity. It's part of the process. Okay. Number one, they have a problem of unfilled orders. Banks deal in billions. If a bank wants to buy 100,000 lots, but only 20,000 are available at the base, well, price will rocket away, okay, and leave the 80,000 orders still resting there. But they're going to come back and get them. So you're going to have another breakaway. All right, that's one. Two, seeking unopposing liquidity, the trap. To buy more, the bank needs people to sell them so they'll come back and take out their stops. You've seen this over and over again. Let's talk about this. As price returns to a demand zone, it looks like a bearish trend. Retail traders are going to start panic selling. The bank's simply going to say thank you and use those retail sell orders to fill the rest of their buy positions, and then it's going to go against you. How many times does that happen? That's why we are going to learn to trade with the sharks in institution footprints of supply and demand. The third thing is they come back to defend their position. Institutions have a vested interest in keeping price above their entry to stay profitable. They will defend that zone by adding more capital, creating that bounce we see on the charts. Okay, sometimes those big guys get in trouble too, but not very often because they know how to play the game. Now, one thing that I want to talk about here that we realize a lot of times that we don't necessarily particularly pay attention to is the principle of freshness. Okay, the principle of freshness. Now, what do I mean by that? This is going to be a golden rule. This is a golden nugget. A zone, look at it as a battery. The first touch, when it comes back and retouches it, it's going to have 100% power. This is the highest probability entry because the maximum amount of unfilled orders is still waiting. Okay, this is what we're looking for, is that first touchback. If you wait till the third and fourth touch, the battery is going to be drained. The wall of orders has been chipped away. This is when the zone fails and price is going to break through, either down or up, depending on if you're in a supply or demand zone. So keep in mind, moving from retail trading means moving from guessing to mechanics. We become mechanical. You're no longer going to be looking for candle patterns. You're going to be looking for imbalances. It's easier to identify. If you've ever looked at a chart where there's, a whole bunch of different candle patterns out there, all these different Japanese candle patterns that people try to get you to memorize, how many times you failed on those trades? A lot. So this is key. In our next lesson, we're going to look at the anatomy of candles, the specific structures of peaks and valleys, and I'm going to show you my professional trading setup. By the end of this section, your eyes will be trained to filter out market noise and see only high probable setups, and you're going to learn to trade like an institutional trader. So I just gave you the foundations of what a supply and demand zone are. And in the next lesson, we're going to talk about, like I said, the peaks and valleys, the anatomy of, when I say candles, the anatomy of imbalance candles. Okay? And again, by the end of that session, your eyes will start to see what I'm talking about. Okay, and I'll do a few setups on TradingView so you can actually see how I set up my charts and trade. All right, this is Nate from NMKL Trader. I hope this has been a very good kickoff lesson for learning how to trade that institutional footprint that the institution set up for us using supply and demand zones.